Hey everybody, John Henry from the Good Hustle podcast. Today we were here with Mark Steinhart from Premier Wealth Management. I had a couple questions for you, Mark. You have an interesting approach. It's unique for financial planning that starts with basically psychological. So why is it so important to understand how someone thinks about money before creating a plan for them?
Yeah. Well, first of all, John, thank you for having me with you today. It's a pleasure. But so what I learned in my now 27-year career is that the idea of getting to know someone's personal story more deeply, it means everything. Literally from their values to their vision to their own, their past, with their developing their own money story from their childhood to their own biases and tendencies. All those things culminate into, really developing a plan that involves really getting to know them and is in alignment with what matters most to them.
Yeah, I think what you're seeing is when you're looking at this, you're looking at really in an emotional or psychological blocks that you see in people, whether it's come to how they spend money, save money, or invest. Because, I'm a recovering addict. So, of course, I have different issues when it comes to addiction, which might be spending. So you see a lot of that as well?
Yep. I do. And actually probably the single biggest challenge that I've seen through my career is, yes, sometimes it's on the spending side. And again, a lot of times it's because people are unaware, of their own tendencies, which literally can stem from back when they were a child and what they learned from mom and dad or grandma and grandpa. They begin to form their own habits as they're, a child up through their teenage years and then eventually into their adult years. Honestly, a lot of it's unawareness. So that's the challenge. And that's what we hope to bring out is, helping people become more aware of their own challenges that can, sometimes distract or derail their own planning.
And do you see people like they come in with a lot of anxiety or shame when they come into this because they feel like either they're really far behind on what they thought they were planning on.
Yeah.
They're in their 40s, they're in their 50s. They don't feel like they've saved enough money. Like, how do you get people to get back on track when it comes to that? Because I know you have a 2-step process that you've actually shared with us before, but I'd love for you to tell the audience.
Yeah. So for starters, first of all, I tell people not to worry. It's okay wherever you are. Really what it boils down to is we look at their own personal situation at that time and say, okay, now how can we take where you are today and make the best of it? In other words, giving yourself the chance to have the best success and achieve your own personal, how would you say, your own personal best.
Yeah. Like your goals, and everybody's different. So the cool thing that I like that you do is that you're not only getting to know, like, you go see some financial wealth planners, things like that. And it's like, hey, here's what you do. Here's what you do. Here's what you do. And it's the same step process for every single person.
Right.
And everybody's different. So you doing this 2-step approach where you get to learn about the person first.
Yeah.
And then actually say, hey, listen, psychologically or mentally, here's where you're at. Here's what you've done in the past. Let's make some changes to do it like this.
Yeah.
And I think that approach is really what's key, which sets you apart from a lot of wealth management people, especially you have a fiduciary duty to help your clients. And that's also next level that a lot of people don't get.
Yeah. And that's a great point, John. What I would also share is to go back to your question of the 2-step process. It's literally what I refer to as the missing link of our industry. The psychology aspect of our industry is not something that's ever really been taught. It is today. It's becoming, more and more prevalent. I would say that it's kind of in its infancy stages, to really get to the root and get deep with people and learning their story, helping them discover even themselves, as to what has been guiding, shaping, and influencing their own decision-making and relationship around money and risk. So the 2-step process, really involves step 1 is, literally several different categories that we go through together and assessments that we do together of really learning about their own history, literally from when we were kids,
yes,
all the way through to the present.
A lot of this behavior, you can back me up on this, but it's taught behavior.
Absolutely. It's forming you and shaping you literally from when we were kids all the way up through, and you don't even know it. You don't even realize it. In fact, I would go so far as to say many habits, many decision-making habits that we have today, especially around finances, are even subconscious to us. but it's been formed and developed in us over the years, and we really didn't know that that's what was taking place.
Have you seen a big change in this? And this wasn't something I was going to ask, but have you seen a big change in how people spend money when it comes to now how easy it is to online shop as opposed to what it was maybe 10, 15 years ago, and how much people just throw money out the window by doing that? Have you seen a big change in that too with people?
I haven't seen a lot of excess spending as a result, but I do see people again, struggling from just being unaware.
Yeah. That's where I struggle.
Yeah.
Because if the Amazon people all know my dog's names and I don't know their names, I think that might be a little bit of an issue on my end. Just give me a second. We're going to take a brief break to hear from our sponsors. Hey, everybody. I wanted to talk to you about A+ Mortgage Solutions. They're one of our sponsors, Jeremy and Angie McMichael, not a couple, but they're phenomenal. They are great lenders. They have worked with hundreds of buyers on my team over the last couple of years. If you need help with a mortgage, whether it's a HELOC, a mortgage, anything, any questions you have, refinancing, check the link below. Their information is there. Now back to the episode. Real quick, I wanted to give a shout out to Deer Valley Land Transfer. When buying your home in the state of Pennsylvania or anywhere in the country, it's important to have title insurance to make sure there are no liens against the property or anything that may not be known, whether it's about the deed, size of the property, anything that you can find out that could be negative or harmful for you in the future. They protect you. This is an insurance that is mandated if you're getting a mortgage, and if you're paying cash, you should still do it anyway. Deer Valley Land Transfer. Hey, Mark, another question. What are some of the biggest myths that you see about people and when it comes to retirement or them getting back on track or them getting started?
Well, yeah. So, John, that's a great question. And I'm so glad you asked, because honestly, the number one myth that I hear across the board, and it's literally been across my entire career, is you have to achieve a certain dollar amount. When I first started in the business, back in '97, the dollar amount was $1 million. If you achieved $1 million, you have arrived. You could retire, you'd be okay. Today, that number is much larger, of course, what you technically hear, but it couldn't be the furthest from the truth.
Yeah.
It all comes down to understanding what matters most to people and for them to achieve their best, not necessarily a dollar amount.
Yep. Let's get into, that's a great answer. And I love that fact, because people think, hey, once again, it's cut and dry, it's black and white, there's no gray, but really there's a lot of gray when it comes to this. But let's talk about your second step in that process we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, and this is probably the single biggest challenge that I've experienced through my career is helping to keep people in the game. And what I mean by that is from their, with their investing for their future. What I've noticed through the years is that there's been a lot of emotions that have been wrapped up in decision-making that oftentimes has resulted into two things. Either number one, a permanent impairment of loss of capital, or, literally it's been years of setback from what they achieved prior.
Right.
And so fortunately in my own experience, what I've been able to do is, after asking the question over and again, what more can we do for clients? I literally have come up with what I believe to be the ideal, reliable, confidence building approach to investing, which honestly, you being a real estate guy, that passive income is a very attractive,
huge
way to make money, right?
Love passive income.
Good news is we can do the same thing through the stock market. Most people are not aware of it. They don't understand the power of it. And those things, among others, I bring to them. And that creates a lot of confidence and reduces a lot of stress.
Yep. And I really feel like if you're somebody that is watching this, feels stuck, overwhelmed, or even embarrassed about their money situation, Mark is somebody that can really help you. There will be contact information below. And I know you wanted to mention a couple things real quick on the about your office too,
Yeah. So again, Mark Steinhart with Premier Wealth Management. I'm an independent advisor, have been for the last 27 years. As you mentioned earlier, I am a fiduciary, and, we'd love to help, additional people achieve their goals and dreams and give them the best chance of long-term success.
Yep. And it's one small step at a time. Just get your foot in the door is the biggest thing you can start with. Talking with Mark is a reminder that your financial future is not set in stone. It's shaped by the small, smart steps you take today, whether you're just getting started or feeling behind. His approach proves that understanding your mindset is just as important as understanding your money. Big thanks to Mark. We really appreciate you having here and for sharing your wisdom and for reminding us that it's never too late to take control of your financial story. So thank you again for coming, and thanks again for our sponsors.